by Mr. Toby and Ms. Wilson, correct?
That's it?
Yeah. Are you guys
So
ready?
I can just share my screen?
You should be good. Do you need anything like, do you need control to do breakout rooms or anything like that?
At the end, if you could break us out in the breakout rooms, that's what we're looking to do.
Do you want to do that, or do you want me to do that?
I didn't know I could do that.
I can give
I don't know
you
how to do that.
co-host. I can give you power, Matt, and I could give you the power to do it, or if you don't know how to do it, I can do it.
Could you do it?
Yeah, I can do it.
You can do it if it's easy, but I just don't know how
Yeah, here,
to.
I'm just gonna give you co-host power here, and I'm gonna show you real quick.
It's fine.
Our other TV did stop working again.
Oh, good. Yes.
Okay, there it goes.
All right, so then if you go down here, probably the three dots down there, the
Yeah.
bottom, you click on that and you can hit breakout rooms. You can assign them manually.
Nobody's ever given me such power.
Yeah, don't abuse it.
I got it now. All right.
All right, so yeah, you can take some time to share your screen, get whatever you need up there, and then whenever you're ready. Works for me.
Everybody can see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, so my name is Mr. Toby. I'm teaching with Miss Wilson, and she can get you started here today.
All right, so we're going to get started, and today we're going to be talking about the United States involvement in World War II. We're going to be mainly discussing today the most destructive war in global history, and then after you guys get a little bit of information on the events in World War II, we're going to have a little discussion on whether the events were justified or not.
All right, so once upon a time in 1931, Japan invaded Manchuria, which is over in China, and this started the war in the Pacific. And the war in the East started in 1939 when Nazis invaded Poland. Lots of this fighting that was happening in World War II was using tanks and troops and air power. This is known as blitzkrieg fighting. This is intense combat that comes with large amounts of death, but it requires lots of resources.
The United States was actually involved in the war. They were semi-involved, so not as neutral as we thought they were. They were actually in 1940 already providing materials to the Allies, such as artillery, aircraft, tanks, etc. Thus keeping them uninvolved.
You done? Sorry.
You're good. You can go to the next one.
Okay, all right. Okay, so moving on from there, we physically involved in the war now. December 7th, 1941. Does anybody know how many aircrafts were at Pearl Harbor? So Japan, so picture this. You're in Hawaii, Pearl Harbor. You look up in the sky, there's 183 aircrafts with bombs just attacking, 183 aircrafts in the sky attacking you. This is what happened at Pearl Harbor. They killed over 2,000 U.S. citizens, destroyed our Navy ships, and they were really, attacking the United States here. They brought the attack to us, and this gave the United States a reason to retaliate. 97% of the public back at home, the U.S. citizens, 97% of us were all like, let's go to freaking war. Like, we can't do this. we're going to war. And that led to our declaration of war. As we declared war on Japan, Germany, being their ally, declared war on us, and World War has thus gotten bigger. Here's a picture of Pearl Harbor. Got another picture right here. So 183 aircrafts coming in and just causing damage here. Lots of damage, killing over 2,000 Americans.
All right, so other events that took place during World War II, specifically focusing on the relationship between the United States and Japan. A tactic that the United States used very heavily when fighting with Japan was the tactic of island hopping, which was moving island to island and taking control of the Japan bases on each island. And then starting in January 1942, that's when the Bataan Death March took place. This was the largest surrender of U.S. troops in history. 78,000 American and Filipino troops were captured or killed. This event was super significant due to the fact that in Bataan, a lot of the times, all of these fights would lead Japan troops astray, and they would not know if the war was over or not. And this led them to, like, years upon years after the war was even ended, they were still fighting the war. In May 1942, the U.S. fought Japan on the Australian coast, and this was called the Battle of the Coral Sea. The Battle of the Coral Sea is super significant due to the fact that this was the first time Japan had experienced any inconvenience or major failure in any battle in World War II. And then lastly, in June 1942, the Battle of Midway took place. The Battle of Midway is called the Battle of Midway because it took place on Midway Island. It's the island exactly between Hawaii and Japan. And this was a major naval battle in the war. And then on the next slide, I have a picture of Midway Island, so you guys can get a picture of what that looks like. You could change the slide. There you go. And then that's I think you're muted, Toby, or
Yeah, you're muted. Still muted, Matt.
I'm muted. Okay, we're okay. We're talking about the Battle of Okinawa here. This is the next battle, the largest battle in the Pacific. I was just asking if anybody knew where this island was, but it's a small island south of Japan, right here, this little red island. But this little island right here caused to be, it was the largest water attack in the Pacific, and it was very, very deadly. It was so important because this was the first time that we had struck Japanese soil. So, like they had attacked our soil with Pearl Harbor, this was the first time we were bringing the fight onto their soil. And this is so important because we're getting closer and closer to mainland Japan, and you can see this island is south of Japan. If we take this island over, we now have a spot where it's like a base. We have a base where we can then put our equipment, put our soldiers, and we can use this as a base to then invade mainland Japan. This battle was very deadly. It had over 160,000 people. That was just soldiers that died, and then you have civilians on top of that dying. Lots of civilians. And basically this fight went on for a little bit, and Japan is just not giving up. They have this kamikaze mindset that they're just going to keep fighting until their last, this place is so important to them. They'd rather fight down to their last person than give up this important island to them. So the United States is thinking, how do we get these guys to quit? What do we have to do to make them tap out? If they're going to do this much damage to us on this small island, what's going to happen when we move to mainland Japan? How many people are going to die once we move forward? So what's our solution here? How do we get out of this spot that we're in? How do we get them to surrender?
So before we get into the events of the discussion, on May 8th, 1945, the Allies declared victory in World War II. But the fight between the United States and Japan continues due to Japan's extreme patriotism. They will not back down. Like Mr. Toby said, they fight until they can't fight anymore, until there's nobody left to fight for Japan. You can skip the slide.
U.S. solution: giant bomb. But this whole time while all this island hopping is going on, and we're doing all this fighting in the Pacific, we're doing fighting in the East. At home, this whole time in Los Alamos, New Mexico, something called the Manhattan Project is going on, and we're creating these giant bombs. We're creating these atomic bombs and testing them. It was so top secret, not even the president knew about it. But then once President Truman came into office, he did find out about the bombs, and we had warned Japan. We had sent the Potsdam Declaration, and we had told them there's going to be prompt and utter destruction here, but not even they could fathom what that could possibly mean. So we have this situation where we got to stop fighting. We can't get out of Okinawa. What do? People have got to stop. Like, the war has got to be over. So we sent them the Potsdam Declaration saying, if you don't surrender, there's going to be prompt and utter destruction. Like I said, they don't respond. They're like, no, we're okay. We have extreme patriotism. We're going to keep fighting. August 6, 1945 comes, and one of our vocab words here, little boy, that is the bomb that we first dropped on Hiroshima. Instantly killing 70,000 people. And 3 days later, still no surrender out of Japan. They're not going to stop fighting.
So even after an atomic bomb was dropped on Japan, they still continue to not back down. So on August 9th, 1945, Fat Man, another atomic bomb, was dropped on Nagasaki, killing 40,000 people instantly. This bomb was significantly larger than Little Man, the bomb previously dropped, and both cities were wiped from the entire globe. After this bomb was dropped, Japanese government decided that they can take no more attacks. And finally, on September 2nd, 1945, Japan surrendered the war to the United States, making the United States victorious. Shortly after this attack, though, the Soviet Union declared war on Japan. So on top of everything already happening in Japan, there is no recovery because the Soviet Union immediately declared war on them after the attack from the United States. You can go to the next slide.
So with all that, like we had everything that we just learned right there, a lot right there. We have the discussion question: was the United States justified in dropping atomic bombs on Japan? So we're gonna get into breakout rooms. We're gonna talk about how many people died, how many people could have died, um, what were our options here? We have two options. We have invade Japan or drop an atomic bomb. What goes with each of those options? These are the type of things that I want you talking about. Um, who were our allies? How could have we invaded Japan with our ally? Who were our allies? Um, how many people died? How do we save American lives? How do we save lives as a whole? What is the right option here? And like the question says, was the United States justified in dropping atomic bombs on Japan? So we're gonna break up into breakout rooms, just for a little bit here. It's at the top. So about 5 minutes or so, just quickly talking about what we had learned, putting together ideas, and coming to an answer on whether we were justified or not. So I'm gonna do 5 breakout rooms. We'll see where that lands us. 5 minutes, bring it back and talk about it. I want to hear you guys' I know you guys have good ideas, so I want to hear them.
We got put into a breakout.
Hey Matt, do you know how to jump into other rooms?
Yeah, I just figured it out.
Okay. We must have lost Brendan here,
Sleep at the wheel.
huh? All right. Do you have any questions on anything as far as jumping in and out or closing the rooms? Oh, I just lost you. Hey, Isaac,
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
did you get kicked out?
Yeah, my computer like just
I might be
went.
muted.
Yeah. Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Did you get kicked out?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we can just hang out here.
Okay.
Are you Edinburgh? Or are you
I
Cali?
am, yeah.
So you're in one of these boats with the 476 students?
Yeah, we got an email from Dr. Williams who runs our field and yesterday, and she mentioned they might have to push it back. So
Okay.
everyone's just got to be flexible. That's the big,
All right.
not I like, you know, there's going to be some, someone's going to get shoved around, but everyone's got to be somewhat flexible with it. So
Okay. Well, I'm glad you have that mindset. I don't know that all your peers are going to have that same mindset, but yeah, we are definitely working on it, and we'll get you taken care of. I promise.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, what are you going to do about it? There's no sense in getting all, up in arms.
Yeah.
So.
No, I get it. I get it. Yeah. So where are you from, Isaac?
So I went to Edinburgh,
Oh,
like the General McLean.
yeah.
I live between Albion and Edinburgh and Cranesville. I don't know if you have any idea.
I know where Albion is. My brother-in-law was a prison guard there, so
Yeah, so I don't live too far off of 6N. So I live
okay.
I live off of Crane, which is like parallel to 6N.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so
So General McLean. I did my one of my fields at the Parker Middle School there.
okay.
Yeah. And then I student taught in Cambridge Springs and Union City when I was at Edinburgh.
Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with Cambridge. Union City, I mean, it's not too far, but
Right.
we didn't, yeah, like for sports and things, we didn't usually play them.
Okay.
So I'm about to end these breakout rooms. We're
Okay.
gonna come together as a class and share our thoughts here.
All right. Yeah, you just hit the end breakout rooms. They'll give you 60-second countdown, and then people will come back to the main room.
Yep.
All right.
Should start coming in. Yep. Okay, I know this isn't everybody. Almost there. Looking for a full house here. All right. So I appreciate your guys' thoughts. Continuing to talk even while the teacher wasn't around. So I appreciate that. Would anybody to begin with like to share their thoughts here? What about from group one? Group one, what were we talking about? Whether we think it's justified or not.
Um, well, we were talking about that. There's kind of no definite answer. It's yes and no. Yes, it was used to, like the yes side, it was used to prevent mass genocide, in the future, and then no because it was a nuclear bomb, like a weapon of literal mass destruction that could destroy the planet literally. Um, and it was also we also talked about how the nuclear bomb was used for more than just against, like it was a message as well, how it was more of a message to other countries and stuff. So no complete definite answer from us, but
They're definitely, yeah, you're right. It's a lot more than just a bomb. So I like that. Group two.
I was in group 2 and I think we had a lot of good discussion, but I can talk a little bit of what we talked about. We said that we're kind of on the fence about it because we were talking about the word like justified, like the definition of that word. We don't know exactly if the bomb was justified. Of course, it was a solution and it did eventually end up working. But as far as if it was justified, we're thinking of all the casualties and like the actual destruction that it left. And not only that, the radiation effects on all of those people and just like the inhumane act of it. Also, completely blindsiding the Japanese people with threatening them almost as like a ghost threat. They have no idea what's coming. And then so many people were killed and so much destruction happened. So we weren't saying it was justified, but we were saying that it was a solution in a way.
A war leads to death. So it was cruel what was happening. Either way about it, you had to think about how many people are going to die. Where are the American lives at? Moving forward to group number 3.
Like you got.
Would anybody like to share?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of really didn't have a definite answer either. I think we were leaning a little bit more towards yes, but it was not like a definite yes. I mean, we also I also understood that if there was a lot of probably miscalculation in actually justifying it. And also that it's just like it was like again, yes and a no, just for the fact that it was like yes, it was used as a message to the rest of the world. And what was mentioned too was that we also kind of said that it was more to like kind of put the rest of the World War on halt. Just like say like, hey, like this is the type of destruction that can happen and will happen if this continues on or if it continues to grow larger. And if circumstances were probably different, that it could have went like there probably could have been more atomic bombs used, maybe not even just by the US, but by other countries if they developed them like at the same, if they were developing them at the same time we were, or if we developed more than just those two and used them in other places around the world. So it like compared to like using or having death all over the globe, we had death in just we had a lot of death in one singular country. What would we say, 110,000? Yeah, about 110,000. So like that's a lot for Japan to lose, but it also could have been millions globally.
I like your thoughts here on thinking more globally. I'm thinking what else is happening outside of Japan? Like this bomb not only affected Japan, but affected the rest of the world. And the fighting that was going, we also ended the fighting in the rest of the world. So I like that you're thinking globally here and not just so specific to Japan. Group 4, was there anything that you would like to add?
Well, we were group 4, but no one was talking, so we answered.
Okay. Group 5.
We're talking about how like since we are 21-year-olds in the 21st century, we don't exactly know all of Truman's other options that he had. Because we weren't exactly there. But
Or like what we would have done.
yeah, like or what we would have done in that situation, because like would we have been able to end the war in a timely fashion, whatever that looks like, using a different option? Like we don't know. So like,
So your question there, so like and this is my fault for not touching on this during the presentation and showing you a good breakdown. But one thing that you're looking at, if we continue fighting, is 10 more years of invading Japan. General MacArthur is looking at 10 more years of fighting. I mean, in Okinawa, you had civilians who still fought there even when war was done. People didn't know that war was over, and they continued fighting. The people of Japan just they had no surrender in them, and we're going to keep fighting. And the other options, we didn't touch on it enough. We touched on it a little bit. Like the Soviet Union, they were, we could have had them come in from the north, like they were, and invade Japan from there. But once again, how many people are dying in invading mainland Japan? So we did have other options. We did have allies, but what does that lead to? Versus what are the consequences of and the destruction of the nuclear bomb? So I like that you're thinking about other options here as well. Final thoughts? Anybody have to get something off their chest here? Want to say anything about it?
Really quickly, adding on to the point you just made, also, Truman believed that there were only two options, and that was to either invade and cause more US casualties and Japan casualties, and obviously more time, artillery, money, efforts, all of that, or dropping the bomb and hopefully they just having them surrender. So, I mean, those were the only two options he thought were going to work, and obviously they did. But
Yeah, the only problem I think with like if we would have asked like the Soviet Russia to like come invade from the north on Japan would have been the fact that they were so focused on their defense over in Europe and guarding their European borders against Germany. I think that we probably wouldn't have even received help from them regardless. But I also think that there were maybe other countries that weren't as involved in the war that we may have been capable of helping, but I'm not entirely sure how that would have panned out because that was never even an option that was thought of. But I just think that just probably wouldn't have went any actual, went any way positive for us. But I also think that there definitely could have been another way than just dropping two bombs and causing over hundreds of thousands of deaths. But at the same time, it's just like it's like what do you have to do to like stop like constant casualties?
yeah,
Yeah. So that's kind of just like what my thoughts are.
and I can agree with that. And also on top of that, when being asked why Truman, this was like the only thing that we could have done, he thought that Japan had started it. So this was like the only retaliation method that he had in mind.
Awesome. I loved our thoughts here, guys. Good job. So that's it from us. Turn it back over to your regular program here.
Okay, keep down my notes. All right, thank you, Lily and Matt. A couple things I'm gonna go down through. Does anybody have any comments for this group? Critiques, comments, questions?
I like that you chose like a kind of big, broad, I guess, question for your discussion, because you can get a lot of different opinions, viewpoints, and like analysis of what was going on. So did like that.
Anything else?
Appreciate it.
This obviously was a class discussion, group discussion, strategy. And, just kind of going down through just quick notes, and we will get together and talk more in detail about these. But, obviously, I've seen a lot of people give those expectations right off the get-go, boom, this is what's gonna happen with the lesson, and these are, kind of the expectations. You all didn't get to see the lesson plan was really good, so I'm gonna talk to this group about that. So Matt, there was a time when you first started and you were reading from the slides kind of verbatim. And then after about the first slide, you just kind of became yourself, right? And that was a much better teaching style for you, is just letting you be you. And because you knew the information and you just kind of were flowing with it. So I like that, once you became yourself, much more engaging, you let that up, so that was good. And let me see here. Okay, Lily, you just at the end there, like you did a nice job with somebody says something, right? So Casper was talking and you said, yeah, I can agree with that. And then you added something to it that was actually helped to kind of expand the thought. A lot of times when we as teachers, a student responds to us or answers a question and we say, yeah, good point, or okay, move on, or, and there's never anything that you actually do to build upon it. A couple of things I look for in my teachers is that you're paying attention and then you can add something to the conversation. You have to be thinking all the time of how you can add stuff to the conversation and be that better facilitator with that. And so coming back from groups, it's always a good idea to allow time for debrief. And so you did a nice job with that. You debriefed, you let people talk about things. Good idea. Could you relate this to anything in today's life? This is to Matt and Lily. Because my total focus every lesson is how can we bring it to today?
I mean, one way to bring it to today is you hear about nuclear bombs all the time today. People living in fear now today. So it's really come full circle. It'd be like, once again, could you see this being justified? Could you see the use of a nuclear bomb being justified today? Especially it being used against us, like that makes you think about the situation in a different with a different perspective. So that's one way I could bring it to today's world.
Right, and so we can talk about I'm sorry, Lily, go ahead, I don't want to cut you off.
I was kind of thinking of the Middle East and how I think this was like maybe 2 years ago, we were talking about invading the Middle East and stopping ISIS whenever they were extremely active. And we were saying we could use another atomic bomb. But now I feel like this is just an example of how that worked. And it could work, but is it worth all of that, all of the destruction and casualties? And like to have something like this go down in history and to always be referenced, like I just feel like is that a risk that we're willing to take to stop somebody? If that makes, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I was thinking about even in the Ukraine right now, like the idea is, we're supplying a ton of money, but we're not sending troops, at least that we know. And we're not doing that because we know we don't want that destruction to happen. But one way, I'm sure it could be entered into the fact is that, Russia has atomic weapons or nuclear weapons, and they could definitely use that right now. So we could bring it to the day talking about just current conflict. Nice job, Lily, Matt, and then Amanda, who's on the async call. I'll get together with you. I'll send you an email. We can kind of get together. We'll go over this. We'll go over the CPAS. We'll go forward. Don't forget IDMs are due on Tuesday. If you have questions, concerns, or worries about your IDM, make sure you let me know and I can help you out. With that being said, take care, everybody. If you have any questions, hang on. If not, we'll see you next week. Oh,